Now all was ready for the first of 2 daily trips and 7 miles to go. With a prolonged piercing whistle, Harry eased off the brake lever, connecting the rod's elbow forward in a skirt of hissing steam, and Georgia Wood was off on its maiden run. On the narrow 2-foot gauge track, the tiny train left the cheering crowd behind, picked up speed past the butcher's stand and down the back of the church. A loud whistle for Mrs. Carson. A loud whistle for Mrs. Carson, waving from her beautiful flower garden. And then it was all downhill, the little engine importantly brushing aside ferns and overhanging boughs on the narrow ledge. Cutting to the hillside, it slowed down, nearing the bridge to let a gang of timber getters jump off, for they would be crossing the Murchison River on the left side by Flying Fox to get to their stand, I mean. With Georgia Wood rattled over the high trestle Pyman Bridge, made of huge hewn pine logs spanning the McIntosh River, which, flowing in from the right, joined a stone's throw away to the left with the Murchison River from the Pyman. This spot, the meeting of waters, was the Aboriginal origin for the name of Tanner. With stops at 2 water tanks and Sawmill Creek, the little train, jolting and grinding on frail rails, would take approximately 2 hours to cover the 7-mile journey. They pulled into Farrell siding, and for passengers en route to Zeehan waited for the Emu Bay train on its 3-foot 6-gauge track passing through on a line from Burnie. They would be transferring to padded seats, sliding windows, foot warmers, and carpeted floors, such luxury. Paddy helped Mrs. Cash and daughter up the path with their luggage, then hurried away to find out who lived permanently at the siding. Loading and unloading shunted off the freight on both lines, freight sheets passed hands, and talking pigeons Alf's main hobby. They cut across to the turntable where Georgia Wood was already waiting. Henry slotted along, Poe in brackets across the front buffers. The 3 men lined up side by side and heaving and puffing, boots slipping in the well-worn circle. They pushed on the people until Poe. They pushed on the pole until the engine was reversed. Back now to the main line, where Paddy was coupling up the return empty ore trucks, freight truck, and carriage. Huh? Who's that horn? Who gave me that? Where was I? There we are. When the EBR thundered in on the line above, Paddy again climbed the hill to exchange mailbags and pleasantries with Cecil, the Bernard guard. Bored passengers leaning on elbows and at window seats jerked upright in amazement at the sight of the toy engine, flung open carriage doors, and armed with cameras raced down the hill to get a snapshot of a lifetime. If there was one thing to plague driver and guard now and in future years, this is it. Women passengers squealed, giggled and asked silly questions while the menfolk got in the way, curtly demanding smiling poses as they angled for the best shots, sensing patronizing condescension towards their important train, and themselves. Paddy dodged out of range, pleading official business, while Harry stood with folded arms in his cabin, back turned resolutely to the clicking cameras, staring grimly down into the galley, waiting impatiently for the loud "all aboard" call from Cecil, which was the only thing that would entice them back to their foot warmers and rugs. Alf had loaded a heavy mixed goods traffic, drums of oil for the line, barrels of beer, flour for the bakery, hardware, boxed groceries, vegetables and furniture, last to go on were the sides of meat, dripping blood through the burlap, and boxes of pigeons which Paddy would be liberating by stopwatch at Sawmill Creek on the return journey. You name it, it was sure to be on the goods trucks, for there was no industry in Tanner apart from the mine. Certainly there was a small cordial factory opposite the hotel, turning out limited quantities of tasty lemonade in pinch-necked marble stoppered bottles, but that was for local consumption only. With time to relax on the run home, Harry now began to fully appreciate the tradesman-like manner in which his new engine buckled down to its task. It pulled confidently on the hills, gripping the rails on the sharp bends with ease, pressure gauge needle holding steady with the firebox. Paddy clambered from engine over the trucks to carriage and back like a monkey, collecting fares, checking his precious fate in case an overhanging bough or for a tight bend had dislodged a crate, filling up at the two water banks, and handing over the mail to Jim Barrows, waiting outside his mixed farm, his sheepdog barking at Paddy to throw the Advocate, which had caught cleverly in its jaws. The pigeons circled and headed north. They watched them until they were only specks in the hills, and then they were off again, in sheer exuberance. Harry threw his head back and sang loudly till the sapling slapping past the footplates. "Oh, I am the captain of the Pinafore, and a right good captain too." Paddy, riding on the freight truck behind him, yelled through the smoke and frying cinders. "Not too much of that Pinafore, Harry, or we Georgie might get the soaks." A bigger crowd than usual swelled by shift workers and housewives, was waiting at the first stop, after quickly appraising to alighting passengers and admiring the new acquisition. They returned their attention to the goods truck. Ignoring Paddy's growls, they swarmed from end to end, forcing aside case slates for unusual delicacies, such as grapes, coconuts, or salted mutton birds. Spry customers then ran up the main road to Stebbins' store to place an early order before the truck had time to circle the town to the shop. Furniture was discussed and consignee tickets read with great interest. A double bed for R.J. Stanley was greeted with sniggers as Mrs. Tonks whispered and nudged Mrs. Blamy. "Who ever heard of a name Mrs. Blamy?" "I knew the way those two have been carrying on at the dances lately. It wouldn't be long. Oh, here's a funny-looking dog in this box for Sister Monk. As if we haven't got enough dogs in this place already. Just look at this. One of them proper baths for Jackson. Who do they think they are putting on earth? That's all that is.